Welcome to Content from the Ranch. Thanks for joining me. It's Neil Kennedy here. So keeping it in-house this week, I'm having a little chat with Daly George. So Daly is an amazing punk rock producer. I mean, he's pretty amazing in whatever he turns his hand to, really. But Daly's keen to make himself, a number one choice when it comes to punk rock. And he's made some incredible records over the last few years, and he just keeps getting better. So I wanted to have a little chat with him and find out a little bit more. Well, who are you?
Hi, I'm Daly. Work at a ranch, obviously. Been there for nearly 5 years? No, for 5 years now.
It's more.
6?
I think it's 6.
Oh my God.
5 or 6. Long time, isn't it?
Yeah, mega long. It's flown by.
Yeah, and Daly came as an intern. I think after about, 2 days, you're like, well, you're probably a bit good to be an intern, so probably get you doing some engineering. Yeah, so from there, what was the first session you worked on?
I think the first one I came in for that trial, it was Nathan Detroit.
Nathan Detroit. Not heard that name in a long time.
No, it's for 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years. But I think the first proper one it probably synced up pretty well with the first Creeper EP, right?
Yeah, that was the first whole session I sat in and worked on.
Yeah.
Lucked out on that one.
Yeah, so obviously things went pretty well from there. What do you remember from that first Creeper session?
Doing guide tracks and Will just staring me out in the eyes and him singing guide tracks.
In the control room.
Control room when Dan was in the live room, just getting used to structure and whatever. And I just had Will pretty much
trying to romance you.
Yeah, pretty much.
I remember seeing Dan Bratton's Blink 182 drummer tattoo for the first time.
Oh yeah,
that session. Yeah. So yeah, from there, you basically worked with me for a few years. Engineering and assisting and working on stuff, and then become your own man.
I know.
Flew the coop.
Well.
So yeah, last year or two, you've been pretty much just flying solo. You've been helping out when, obviously, you come and muck in and help out and stuff like that. But yeah. So what have you been doing? Give us some of the projects you've done over the last year or so.
Probably Burn Tapes is one of my bigger ones. That band doing really well. Miss Vincent have been a personal project for quite a while, just focusing on punk rock really.
You definitely have your own sound. I think everyone that works there has their own sound, but you're despite the fact we worked together for a long time, our mixes don't sound anything like each other.
Mine are terrible.
You are mental. Yours sound so clean. I'm always envious. Jesus, how have you got? I mean, mine just sound basically distorted all the time. Yours so crisp.
Trying to dirty stuff up as much as I can, but it just never comes out that way.
So that's the thing, isn't it? You kind of your internal biases kind of stop it. My internal bias is always leaning into things too heavy. Yeah, just distorting everything, and nothing sounds right unless it's kind of fizzing and crackling. So let's. I mean, we know each other pretty well, or do we? That is the question. Could we know each other better? Are we going to know each other better? Okay, so what's an unpopular opinion you'd kind of go to bat for? You'd go to war. You go to war for it.
Fried eggs can get in a bin. I hate them, man.
Fried eggs.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
So I had an egg for dinner and it wasn't fried. That was the first thing I thought of.
The first thing.
Yeah, I've had multiple arguments with it actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So what is it about the fried egg?
Just smells, it's the texture of it is just disgusting.
See, I, up until about 3 or 4 years ago, would have absolutely agreed with you, but I've slowly come over to it, even more so scrambled egg, which I used to think was just the worst thing in the world. And now I'm a fan. Although it needs to have chili sauce.
Okay.
Maybe that's the trick with the fried egg. Get some chili sauce on that. No,
going near it. Going near that.
Is it the greasy smell?
Yeah, just everything to do with it. It's just
everything's wrong with it.
Yeah, worst kind of egg.
Okay, what is the best egg?
Best eggs definitely scrambled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think my favourite egg's probably poached.
I don't think I've ever had a poached egg.
Really? Poached eggs you get these kind of coffee aficionados and gin enthusiasts and all that. Poached egg is the egg enthusiast's egg because it's hard to get it right.
a side of guacamole, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Get some guacamole and sour bread toast. Yeah, lovely stuff.
Straight on Instagram.
Get on the gram, yeah. Couple of chili flakes on the top. Oh, mate, you should treat yourself. Get yourself a poached egg.
What have I been doing in this lockdown?
What have you been? Yeah, yeah. I mean, in lockdown, you could have nailed it. You could have got your timings down and everything.
Yeah, my whole Instagram feed could have been there.
Yeah, you could have had some real heat on that. All right, so I didn't expect us to go straight to eggs. It's a good start. Right, after you. Give me a question.
Keeping on the food thing, like if you could have like a perfect meal, you could have anything you want.
It's the best meals I've ever had. Have you ever done one of those Michelin star tasting menu things?
Sign me up.
You got to get on that. So the idea is you do like, it's like loads of courses, like seven courses or, 5 courses, whatever, with a wine flight. So bring a little matched glass of wine for every little thing. And that, I mean, I don't think a single thing on one of those menus is something I would order in a restaurant. You're getting like little tasters of each of them. Mm. That's a great way to enjoy a meal. So I'd probably say some kind of like Michelin tasting menu with wine flight followed by cocktails.
Just like whatever the chef's thinking that day.
Yeah.
Throw it at me.
Whatever comes out of the kitchen. As long as it doesn't have goat cheese or mushroom, we're golden.
Where did you go?
I've did one in Petersfield, but the restaurant's closed now. It was called JSW.
Okay.
And I did one in I can't remember what I did. I think it was in London somewhere, and then I did one in Amsterdam.
Oh, bang!
The one in Amsterdam is amazing. It was like Michelin star restaurant tasting menu kind of thing, but all the like the dishes were all kind of like a bit more pop culture-y, like burgers, but like sliders with like Wagyu beef and like mad shit like that. I basically just think like my dream food is just going to like a really like a posh restaurant, like a kind of thing I can't afford, basically.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the experience of it as much as I like the food.
Yeah.
That makes sense. If it's just at home, banging pizza, banging burger, something like that. Yeah. Go guess. What about you?
I just love Mexican food, man. I think
mate, I didn't even think of Mexican food.
Yeah, I think I could just go to Oaxaca, order anything. Like, just can't go wrong with Mexican food.
I think any nation who has have crisps as part of their like meal. So you got like nacho kind of things. You got poppadoms from India. Any of those nations have got it nailed. If you basically got crisps, I'm in. Yeah, I'm in. That sounds perfect to me. 2020, we just put that directly in the bin. 2021, what is the musical trend you want to see come back?
I'd love to see some, like, the double time punk rock back. Like
skate punky kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think, like, it's so underground now, which is cool. And it was always a little bit there.
Yeah, but they did, like, you could be in that kind of band and tour at quite a high level for quite a while, but it does seem to have gone a bit more...
Yeah, it's still like hard bands, like, I'll go and find it. I'd love to see some more of that sort of style. Yeah, I'll go with that, I reckon. Yeah, some kind of like fast punk rock. The thing is, we're in a sort of like politically volatile time. Punk rock kind of comes from politically volatile times. Maybe it will happen. Yeah, I've been thinking like there's got to be some good punk rock songs come out of this. Yeah, like, could be some good music. Full stop. Some good political music. I've had like so many people that send me like rough songs, whatever, and it's like people are making really good use of their time and coming up with great stuff. It's awesome. Yeah, some of the songs I've heard come out of lockdown so far have been pretty good. Yeah, cool. I'll go with that, man. Just more circle pits. All right. So if there was like one movie that you could change a part of it or an ending to make like, to take it from like great to like amazing, have you got anything? I think like the instantly jumped into my head was Interstellar. Oh, okay. Because that's a film that it kind of lives with me for a long time, because I think when I just saw it, or maybe not long after, went to a house party with some friends and we all got pretty tipsy. And I have really blurred but vivid kind of memory of me literally standing in the kitchen pontificating to everyone in the like, no, shut up and listen to me. It's like the worst film ever and the best film ever. Like that was some kind of like, no one's ever thought about that kind of thing before, this kind of like juxtaposition of good and bad. And I think like it doesn't really make sense. And I think there's a few things they could have done to make it make sense. So to me, there's a thing called the
It's called the grandfather paradox, where, I mean, spoilers are going to happen here because you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, spoilers are going to happen. If you haven't seen it, it's been out years, it's your fault. So future humans send a message back in time that we have to do something in order to get to that point where we can be future humans. So in order to get there, we have to have already gotten there at some point and send the message back, but we can't get to that point to send the message unless they send the message. So it's a paradox. And all it would need is like something to be like, oh, you know, some fucking parallel universe or some shit, or like an alien or something. Yeah, it just needs that. Just someone in there going, maybe it's an alien or something, mate. And then that would have done it for me. That would have been the one thing I needed. Maybe it's a parallel universe thing. Maybe it happened in another one. And I mean, let's not worry about it because we've got to get up there and sort shit out. So let's just not worry about it. So I mean, that's kind of the approach I would have had. So it's going to be too difficult to think about this, so let's just ignore it. Yeah, that jumps out. I think later on tonight I'll be lying in bed and I'm like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Okay. But for me, like that one little fix in Interstellar, that would have been like the best film ever. Probably not, but it would have been a little bit better. Did you have something in mind when you thought of that question?
I watched a film like a year and a half ago, and my brother was just like, this is the best film ever. Every single film, he is like, you got to watch it. It's the best film. And he has a terrible taste in films. But we actually watched this about 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that.
Yeah. And that ending, I was so into that movie until the ending. I was like, you
fuck off.
I was like, I just literally wasted all that time. Like, I was livid.
Yeah. I think I saw that at the cinema. And I was thinking, oh, this is pretty cool, man. I'm kind of vibing this, and then, yeah, it's a real shame, isn't it?
Yeah, big shame. But like, some people love that ending. I looked it up online and everything, and people was like, "Ending's awesome" and stuff like that.
I could have handled an ending where, spoilers, she comes up and she's free, and then she just sees something in the distance, and it's, you're like, oh my god, is that a in there? Do you know what I mean? That kind of like the spinning top in Inception or something, just so you got like a little bit of like, oh wait a minute, what the fuck was that? Like, there's a lot. I tell you, there's a lot of horror films I've seen where I'm like, oh, why did you do that? Like, of all the things you could have done, like, never show the monster. You know, cool. All right, yeah, I'd say Interstellar then. Give that a quick fix. Is there something that got you into wanting to be a producer? Was there a record or an experience? Or
I was always like when I was in bands or whatever, I was always the guy like, why does this guitar sound like crap? And like, I'd be always just trying to figure it out and like just nerding out as much as I could back then. And also I remember a record by Sum 41, and it was a record that no one really liked, but I actually loved.
Which one was it?
There was this one called Underclass Hero.
Right.
Yeah, basically they just went to town. There was like every song, like they'd have like 3 different drum kit tones. And like they just threw all the money at it really. And I was like, how did they do that? And so yeah, I just made myself look into it, and then found like Chris Lord Algae and all that stuff. And then I was like, I kind of want to be able to make those sort of tones really. And I was always the person in the band who like I was always like the structured guy.
Right.
We have always had like these little bits or songs. So I was like, okay, we need to move this bit here and there. And then just always found myself doing that really.
Right. So you try and like be big picture with the songs rather than... Yeah, that's where I always found myself. And yeah, I always just liked the way things sounded. Like when I grew up, like my parents were like both like musical. Like, not playing, but they always had records on. I always remember listening, just like, that sounds terrible and that sounds cool. Right. And it was just like an instinct type thing. That's funny. Like, do you think if you heard those records now, you still think the same thing? So I think like your kind of like decision making on sounds is formed quite early. I've got quite clear memories of hearing something being like, that sounds really cool, and it not often being the case. Like when I go back and listen to something that I thought sounded good back then, it's not often that it doesn't. If that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
There are notable exceptions to that rule, but
sometimes I always feel like almost like get confused between like something sounds good and something feels good.
Yeah, like, I think like there should be like that kind of visceral kind of crossover thing, shouldn't there?
That's normally what sets apart like records, like even that come out nowadays. Like if I don't get an emotional attachment to me, like doesn't sound good. Like to me, like there's very few records where I can appreciate like the sound of it to a certain extent without liking it.
I'm just trying to think back. I remember when I was a young boy getting Quicksand Manic Compression. I had Quicksand Slip already. I remember getting Manic Compression and thinking, it's better, it sounds better. But what it was, I think, I listened back to them not so long ago and it was like, no, it definitely doesn't sound better. It sounds a lot worse. In fact, it sounds bad. Okay. But I think the songs are better. So I think at that stage, I was still kind of mashing things together in my head as to, what sounds better, what is better, songs, that kind of stuff. So
I think that happens with quite a few people. Like some people have some references and you're just like, this sounds mental.
Oh, God, yeah.
But they just really love the record.
Yeah.
They don't love the sound of it. They just love the record.
What's the one I got? I used to get the same reference quite often. And it's just such an awful sounding record. I could not get my head around it. I wonder if you can remember what it was. You remember what it was?
Oh, is it that Copacetic?
Yeah, Copacetic. I can't remember who the band were, but
I don't know the band.
That, to me, just sounds bloody dreadful. but the song's really cool. It sounds really horrible to slag someone else's work off like that. But to me, to my ears and ethos and that kind of stuff, it's just, I couldn't get my head around it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Sum 41 was your answer.
Yeah, Sum 41, that tier record.
All right, cool.
Yeah, it's got some righteous guitar tones in that. You being a lecturer at uni, do you see like your students like romanticizing or having like an idea of what it's like to work in the studio? Is there anything that there's like misperceived that they...
Yeah, actually, I'll tell you, something that kind of pops into my head quite often when I'm with this is the kind of like the delineation of roles is not something that pops into to a lot of my students' minds straight away. So they kind of, this is generalization, but quite often they kind of just see themselves as the complete package. They're going to be the artist, engineer, producer, mixer, and they're going to do the whole thing, which, is definitely like a thing that happens. It's not like I try and extinguish that dream. Quite a lot of the time, like people actually find themselves just working in one of those roles. They kind of like do everything. Thing isn't all that common. I suppose it's more common now. It's interesting that that's kind of their first thought is that they're basically going to do the whole thing. The romanticization of it is that they don't think it's mainly boring. The kind of bit of editing and preparation, all that kind of stuff, the tuning and all those things, they're not really considered.
Hit spacebar and make a hit.
Yeah. So if they're talking about, we're going to record some drums today, they'll go in and set mics up and just hit record. There's no nuance to like, how does the drum sound? How do you want it to sound? How does it sound? Does it sound good through the microphones? Do you need to adjust those kind of thing? It's only after a bunch of time experiencing different things that you start seeing them kind of like have a more of a vision for what they want to do. And then normally like later on, I mean, that is the kind of idea behind university, isn't it? It's a learning experience. You don't walk in and just nail shit down straight away. The idea is you refine it, develop it. Yeah, get good at it. So quite often by the third year, you're hearing stuff that sounds really good. That being said, with my university hat on, I just spent the last 2 weeks basically marking, and some of the stuff, for context, with the COVID lockdown, university was, as everything was really hard hit. So a lot of students were kind of going into the final stretch of they're kind of finishing their assignments. They had the last month or so to go. And one of the ones I was teaching was a music production module where they had to complete a session. So I gave them a bass line, a couple of synth bits and a vocal, and they had to fill in all the blanks. Or guitar part, blah, blah, blah. You have to fill in all the blanks. Yeah. And some of the students that are efficient and got it all recorded already. There's some, I mean, they've got like time to do it, so I'm not judging them if they didn't get it recorded. There's some of them got to the point where they only had like really early recordings that they probably wouldn't have used because they would have used the last 4 weeks to improve it and whatnot. But so some of the work that came in saw some real like innovation and kind of like real kind of creativity trying to smash together what they had and make it into something that was good.
Oh, wicked.
So some didn't hit the mark, but they like had a go, and like it's a big ask, and it's supposed to be done as part of a group as well, so doing it on your own. But a couple, like one of them was fucking wild. It sounded like a Daft Punk track or something. And he had played in the bass line on a synth he had like a little micro Korg or something, and he made the beat out of hits he had taken, it sounded fucking great. Like, it was brilliant and just had vibe and energy and all this kind of stuff. It's like, holy shit, this is like a first year's piece of work. Not only that, but under the shittiest circumstances, they've like, you know, showed real kind of creativity and come out with this brilliant mix. So that's kind of cool. Like, obviously, I would say, speaking in generalizations, my normal experience is I'm kind of getting them to kind of see the different roles and refine their kind of like listening skills and stuff as they go, and build up that kind of like archive of what things sound like in their mind as they kind of go.
Yeah, associate things with sounds and whatever.
Yeah, sure. And occasionally you just get someone that's like, oh right, you're sorted already, cool. Let's just smash our way through this then, shall we? Like, what's the best sounding record you think you've made? And what's the best sounding record you think I've made? I'm
pretty pleased with the Our Nameless Boy record that we did. I'm pretty happy with that. Like, we would definitely had like, well, those guys really pushed me really hard. So like, we want to do this, and we all like, we spent quite a lot of time like demoing it, and they were like, want this to, they're very much like gearheads, and I thought that came out really well and interesting. Like, every song sounds like a little different, and yeah, we went down crafting tones and spending ages getting everything right. So
what, like, for reference, what were you referencing? What was your kind of like mood board for making that record?
Like, references were like Manchester Orchestra, Me Without You.
Oh, brilliant. Like, yeah.
Big one. That was like a main one, really. Ambient drums, like little tucks in the mix, and a lot of it was to have like space around everything. Like, you could hear it in a room. That was like the thing we wanted to achieve. Like, it was all kind of like natural reverbs and everything like that.
Very cool.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge, man. It was hard getting it all right. But yeah, I think I was probably happy with that one.
What about one that's out at the moment that people could hear?
Coming out this week is a band called Modern Shakes. And there's a song called Fair Dues that's coming out, and I was pretty chuffed with that. Like, cool. I had like a specific drum sound that I had in my head, and it's just like straight up punk rock. Yeah, those guys are really good. Like, Ian, the songwriter, is like really talented, and I think we made something pretty cool there.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I loved it.
What about me?
Yeah. There's so many, mate. I'd say that Family Man.
The Family Man EP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just sounds killer.
Thanks, man.
Sounds like the band that you always wanted, you should always record.
Yeah, that's how it feels as well.
That sounds great.
And I think, like you, I really had like what I wanted it to sound like in my head, like, and they did as well, and we agreed on it, which is the important thing, I think.
Yeah.
So we did a song called Vault, which is, you know, you can hear, and I think early on we got caught up in the kind of like, it's riffy, so it's got to sound like this, but really the actual things we all like listening to, like 9 Inch Nails and Queens of Stone Age and stuff like that, which they don't write songs like, but that's what we like, and that's kind of what we want it to sound like. It didn't really sound like that. It sounded much more industrial and a bit metally. So I think this EP sort of like channeling the kind of organicness a bit more and making those mid-range quacky guitars and stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. It's just like constantly candy.
There's a fucking lot going on in there. Yeah, thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Yeah, I agree. I think that is probably one of the best sounding things I've done, I think.
Yeah, that's too good.
They are amazing. They should be, yeah.
They should be huge.
They should be. Maybe they will be, like, they haven't actually released anything properly, so maybe they will be. Which does actually bring me to that. I was listening back through, I was sort of queued up by that email. We received an email from a band that Daly and I worked with called Honeymoon, who they're just so good. So good. Nothing ever happened with them, which blows my mind, because every time I listen back to it, I just think, this band is so good.
Yeah.
I got an email from Callum from Honeymoon saying they got us on a sync thing to to a movie, could I do an instrumental? And I thought, I'll give it another little remix, give it 2020 remix and do the instrumental. And he got back to me saying he really liked it. But just listening, I thought it'd be really cool to do a podcast of bands that should have been massive, and Honeymoon, 100, well, it should have been bigger than they were. Certainly Honeymoon, without a doubt, for me.
Like they're in the, like with their peers, like in their genre, they're just killing it. Like so much, like
so good.
I could see that like on TV. I could see it everywhere.
Yeah, it still feels really contemporary. Like, what is it? 5 years ago? 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. Still feels like you could put that song out now and it would still, people would love it. It's like classic. And the thing is, they were that kind of pop rock. A mean person would say pop punk. I mean, there are bits that sound like fucking Prince or something in there, and it's just a real fucking cool interest. Like, you don't get those turn up very often, where it's just like, oh my god, every song is brilliant. This is so good. Like, so maybe that'll spur me on. But hopefully, in 10 years' time, I won't be talking about how Family Man should have been massive. Hopefully, they will be massive by then, because I fully. If I was going to put the house on something, it'd be Family Man.
Yeah, big time. What do you reckon is overhyped piece of equipment have you had that everyone thinks is like sick, and you've got it and you're just like, what is this garbage?
Loads of them. And it probably says more about me than it does anything else. One that jumps out to me was that Slate distressor plugin that didn't sound anything like a distressor.
I'd never even used
Never even tried it. That was shite.
I say that's a really hard one to emulate.
Yeah, to the point where when Empirical Labs put their one out, they were like, we called it the Arouser because it doesn't really sound anything like a distressor. It's its own thing, you know. I think microphones are probably the one for me. In the past, I've had some expensive mics in, and I don't hear the difference between a $4,000 mic and a $1,000 mic. I think if I was on more critical recording stuff, like if I was doing like singer-songwriter, really stripped back stuff. But I don't do that. I do like noisy stuff where there's loads of dirt and distortion, and nearly all the vocals I go through the Loop Trotter monster at the end of the mix, like, just being absolutely crushed. So I think the times I've had mega expensive mics in, I've always been like, I'm not going to bother. I couldn't hear the difference in a Perlman and a Police, though, and there was like £1,000 difference between those two. For the stuff I do, I can't really hear the difference in U87 and a Warm 87. I know there is a difference, but
when it's in a mix, like
when it's in the mix and it's been recorded distorted bass or something, like I don't think there's like a 1% difference, if that. So this is going to break my heart to say it out loud, but I bought a mid-70s Marshall SLP.
Oh yeah,
and I don't think it sounds very good. And it's the one that like. Everyone's always like, oh yeah, those the super leads, like they're the Ultima one, they're the Marshall. Like, nah, it's not for me.
That's
800, JMP, either one of them, gold. But SLP, I've been well disappointed in. Just it's I can get it to sound good, but I mean with the JMP or the 800, it's just like done. So yeah. I think that for me. What about you?
I see people always use that D112. D112, like the egg-looking thing.
Oh yeah, they suck.
It's like everything I don't want it to sound like.
Yeah. Whereas the D12, the old D12,
so good.
Love it. Absolutely amazing. It's like 50 years old or whatever. It's fucking 4 years old. It's fucking amazing.
I remember not liking that old SVT, that Ampeg.
Yeah, that was shit.
As soon as you got the Fender, it's just like, oh, this sounds so much better.
Yeah. And it broke all the time, that SVT.
Oh yeah, nightmare.
But I swear, when I hear other people using an SVT, I'm like, oh, that sounds great.
Yeah, someone brought one in, and I was like, it was just a guitar into that, and it sounded amazing.
I think it might have been ours. Maybe ours was just shite.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
No, I think luckily with a lot of the big ticket things I bought on a bit of a like, this is going to be cool, I've kind of gone lucky, like buying that Q kit based entirely on hearing Nolly's steel one or whatever, and then getting that in, and it that's amazing. That kit is fucking brilliant. I'm so happy with that kit, and a few other things like that I've just kind of sort of like the silver bullet, just had a go, and yeah, it's worked out pretty well for me. But I mean, I have to look at my Reverb and eBay listings of the last few years to see that I definitely been off quite a lot of shit. So, Daly George, have you or anyone you know seen a ghost?
I haven't, but I've had two people. And even though they're like extremely close to me, I just think it's bullshit. But
so what's the story?
My brother, they went and played they had like a golfing weekend, whatever, and he crashed around my uncle's house, and he saw someone go up the stairs in the middle of the morning or middle of the night, whatever, and then he was just like, he didn't sleep. My brother gets quite freaked out pretty quick, and he was like, not moving or doing anything. And then my uncle came down later in the morning. He was like, I saw a ghost. And he's like, oh yeah, like I should have told you pretty much. Like we have we've seen this ghost in here, it just hangs around the stairs. And
well, there you go.
Yeah. And I was like, that's bullshit.
You fucking liars. Oh. And what's the other one?
Soph's mum, actually.
Okay. And
she saw, when she was younger, woke up in the middle of the night and just saw like an old man in her room, and which is like, yeah, bit eyebrow raising, just scary. But just went back to sleep or whatever. And then she went to see her mum in the morning, and I think her mum was talking to next door neighbor or something, and she was describing what this old man was like. And I think either her mum or the neighbor said, "Oh my God, that was the person who died in there, who like before you moved in." And she was tiny. She would have never known or seen a picture of him. Right. So, yeah.
Spooky shit.
Still
bullshit, though, isn't it? All right, wicked. Cool. Well, Daly, thanks for joining me on this. It's been fun.
Yeah. Good.
Nice one. I know a little bit more about you. I didn't realize you hated fried eggs as much as you do. So, yeah. Cool. Well, look forward to seeing you in the studio soon, man.
See you soon.
Hey, it's me, Neil Kennedy from The Ranch. So I was thinking a bit more about the idea of having a little listen through and maybe going through my recollections of some of my favourite sessions from the past, having listened and chatted to Daly about the wonderful honeymoon session. What I thought would be cool, I'm going to play you the whole song here, and if this is something you're into, leave a comment, leave a little review, maybe, send me a message, send me an email, let me know that you dug it, or if you've got any ideas for records that have been produced in the ranch over the years that you want to hear a little bit of a retrospective on. And maybe we'll make more of a feature of it. But for now, this is Honeymoon, Catch Your Death. As far as my memories go of the session, they are very limited. But I do remember just having the best time with the really creative group that had a real vision for what they wanted their record to sound like. I remember Weezer being a touchstone. Sort of further on from that, stuff like Prince, bringing in kind of an element of kind of funky kind of influences to some of the other tracks. And it was just a really great experience. And I remember being very confused as to why nothing really happened after making such an exciting, innovative EP. So anyway, here's Catch Your Death, and like I say, let me know your thoughts.
Wasted again, left prone beneath the tarpaulin. You can find me in the dark like a beacon. I'm sure it seems blinded on my luck. So pick me up, I fucked it up. Through my teeth, mistruths, I hold you in the backseat. Dispute and argue, coming clean. Catch your death, say everything you wish you said. Lie, catch your death out here with me tonight. Alright. your death. It'd be better than feeling this.